Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever and whenever you are viewing today's pre-recorded on-demand webinar featuring Cross Canada and the Rockies rail vacations with Railbookers. Folks, my name is Jim Marini. So excited to have you here today for our exciting presentation. And speaking about our presentation today, first off, just wanted to explain the On24 webinar system, which is what you're looking at right here on your screen. All right, the big, beautiful, large pictures are going to be of Canada. Also, in the top left-hand corner, the video, that is me. Hello, everyone. Jim Marini here. So excited to have you here. Got a little information about myself underneath the video. Also, at the bottom of your screen, feel free, if you have any questions, you can type those in. A member of our team will respond back to you shortly. You can also take our survey, which I encourage all of you to definitely do before the end of today's presentation. We have some important links. You can contact us. But what are we going to talk about today? In a short amount of time, the different trains available to you throughout Canada, traveling on board Via Rail, which is the national train of Canada, in an overnight sleeper. Also, I'm going to talk about the top Canadian rail vacations booking right now, how Railbookers provides a single source for all components of your vacation, why to consider adding on a Canadian rail holiday as a pre or post cruise extension. If any of you are doing any Alaska cruises or cruises along the eastern part of Canada, even into New England, and discounts and special offers available to you. So really, to kick things off, I wanted to show everyone a map of Canada and how booking with Railbookers or booking through your local travel advisor on a Railbookers trip makes it nice and easy. Now, if you take a look at this map, everyone, you see all those beautiful, colorful lines? Those represent all the different Via Rail trains. And again, Via Rail is the national train of Canada, just like Amtrak is in the United States. Now, the number one most popular train route is the Red Line. That Red Line is known as the Canadian, okay? And we're going to talk more about some of those exciting packages today. But we do have some great different train routes all available through Canada, and these can go east to west or west to east. You get to decide. But speaking of east to west or west to east, let's start out with the great cities of Eastern Canada by rail. And this is a real treat, everyone. And as I go through these particular pictures today, especially if you're looking to travel with your friends, family, your loved ones on any trips throughout Canada, especially to Eastern Canada, it's as if you are traveling in Europe without having to cross over the Atlantic Ocean. And you'll see what I mean as I go through some of these pictures, starting with the great city of Toronto. Now, Toronto, home of the CN Tower, great nightlife, restaurants are fantastic. We do include, as you can see, a multi-day hop-on, hop-off sightseeing tour. And if you're curious, well, what is a multi-day hop-on, hop-off tour? It's literally as simple as this, folks. It's a great way for you to get in and around the city where you can get on and off the motor coach bus or the shuttle bus, whatever form of transportation you'll be traveling on that we include for all of you. And you could stay as long or as short as you would like in each of the different areas. Really what I see is it's a nice way without having to rent a car, get an Uber, Lyft, right? It's a nice way to get in and around the city. Now, as I mentioned, this package and so many other packages, you do have the opportunity to travel on board Via Rail. Now, on board Via Rail, there's different categories that you can upgrade to, from Prestige Class, which is the box that you see right there in the middle, which is our most premium level. We do have Sleeper Plus Class or even Economy Class. So if you're traveling during the day, you can stretch out your legs, relax, enjoy the sight, scenery, and sounds along your journey without, again, having to drive and deal with traffic and directions of where you're going and when. If you look at the nice collage picture right here on your screen in the top left-hand corner, that's inside the dome car. Look at those big, beautiful glass dome windows. Also, one of the biggest highlights I'll mention right now, if you upgrade on any of our packages, whether it's Eastern Canada, Western Canada, whenever you're overnighting on board the train, if you upgrade to a sleeper, all of your meals are included from the city you depart from until the city you arrive in. So keep that in mind. I also mentioned Prestige Class being our most premium level. In the bottom left-hand corner on the large picture on your screen, that is inside of Prestige Class. In fact, it's the only class on board the train where there are no bunk beds. It's actually a queen-size bed all right? In Prestige class, there's lots of other great amenities that you get as well. We'll talk more about that as I go through. Now, on this particular package, we do also include Ottawa, yes, the capital of Canada, where we also again include a hop on, hop off sightseeing tour, just allowing you that flexibility to see all the great iconic sites within each of these cities. Now, when you do travel to Montreal, remember how I just mentioned earlier, it's almost as if you are traveling in Europe without actually having to hop on a plane to travel over the Atlantic Ocean. You get that feel, that European charm, not only in Montreal, where we do include a locally guided sightseeing tour with a local tour guide, but also in Quebec City. Look at this picture, everyone. Now, Quebec City, they have Old Quebec and they have New Quebec. You'll get a chance to see both, and you'll have a chance to see that when you do your locally guided sightseeing tour. Now, again, when we talk also about as if you are in Europe, do you know the first language spoken in Quebec and even also in many parts of Montreal is French, the first language before English. So again, you do feel as if you are in Europe, as if you are in France, because again, with French being spoken as their first language. But what I love about, in particular, Montreal, Quebec, is those outdoor cafes, the restaurants, the bakeries. You can sit back, relax, have a nice cup of coffee, cappuccino, some pastry, and just people watch and just enjoy the scenery as it passes you by. This trip itself, 8 days, 7 nights. And as you can see, looking at the map on the left-hand side, 2 nights in Toronto, 1 night in Ottawa, 2 nights in Montreal, and 2 nights in Quebec City. That's how many nights you're staying in each of these great cities. And here's the beauty, too. On all of our trips with Railbookers, you get to choose between a 3, 4, or 5-star hotel, depending on what your price point is or your budget. That's your option. That's your choice. And any trip can also be customized. But as you can see, looking at this package, as I'll highlight in all the packages today, lots of great items included, from hop on, hop off, sightseeing tours to hotel accommodations. Just an awesome trip to consider. Now, for those of you that have the Canadian Rockies on your wish list, your bucket list, well, it doesn't get much better than traveling out to this area of Canada on board the Rocky Mountaineer. And you'll have a chance to do that once you depart from Vancouver, but you will have an opportunity to spend time in this magnificent city, where we do also again include a hop on, hop off sightseeing tour. Vancouver, formerly home of the 1988 Winter Olympics, just an awesome city to experience. Now, on board Rocky Mountaineer, one major difference with Rocky Mountaineer versus Via Rail: Rocky Mountaineer, you travel on the train during the day. There are no overnights on board Rocky Mountaineer. However, on Via Rail, you do have the option to travel overnight. Now, when you do travel on Rocky Mountaineer, you can upgrade to Gold Leaf. All right, that's what you're looking at. That's the pictures right here in this collage that you're looking at. Really what I call the height of luxury. Indulge your senses with gourmet meals prepared by executive chefs and expansive views throughout the panoramic windows of a bi-level glass dome coach into the Canadian Rockies. Now, as you travel through from Vancouver on your way throughout some of the great areas, you'll pass through Kamloops before really arriving into the heart of the Rockies. And that's when you arrive in Banff. You can marvel at the mountains, lakes, and waterfalls. And this is on a guided tour with a locally guided tour, a local tour guide. Now, just like on our Eastern Canada package, the same applies in Western Canada. We have many options for accommodations to choose from, and you get to choose whether it's the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel, which is a 5-star, 5-star being the best, 5 Diamond being the best, or you have hotels such as Elkin Avenue, Rimrock Resort, Banff Caribou. Again, depending on which lodging and what your price budget is, we or your local travel advisor will work with you to find that perfect trip. Now, this is a great package too, and I wanted to mention this because we call this our Canadian Rockies Express with the Rocky Mountaineer from Vancouver. So if you remember at the beginning of today's presentation, I mentioned the idea of even extending as a pre or post cruise. So if you want to go into the Canadian Rockies, maybe before or after an Alaska cruise. Some of you might be planning or wanting to plan to travel on a cruise in Alaska. Well, why not see more before or after the cruise? And you could do that right here in Canada, all right, on a great 5-day trip. Or you could just head out for a nice getaway into the Canadian Rockies, whatever you prefer. Now, if you want something not only to the Canadian Rockies, but something a little bit longer, a little more inclusive, how about our Ultimate Canada and Rockies Westbound? This, just like the first package I showed everyone in Eastern Canada, does include the great city of Toronto, again, where we include a guided sightseeing hop-on, hop-off tour, but you are treated for a trip to Niagara Falls, considered one of the wonders of the world. Now, my suggestion to all of you that are looking to travel to Toronto, Niagara Falls, or Eastern Canada, especially Niagara Falls, consider upgrading your hotel room to what's called a Falls View room. All right, so you have a room overlooking Niagara Falls. So in the evening, this is what it looks like. As you can see, it's illuminated. In the morning, when you wake up, you overlook the falls. My family and I did that not too long ago, and it was fantastic. Now, as you can see, looking at this picture, we do include a sightseeing tour of Niagara Falls and Niagara on the Lake, which is such a beautiful area. You'll have that opportunity as well. So keep that in mind, but just such an awesome experience. And this is one where you really do get an opportunity to overnight on board the train, because this is going to take you from Toronto, which is in Eastern Canada, on your way out to Western Canada. So as I would mention for my own family and friends, consider upgrading to a sleeper. Now, as I mentioned, we have Prestige class, where there's only about 6 of these available on the train known as the Canadian. Again, that's the train that goes from Toronto all the way to Vancouver, or from Vancouver all the way to Toronto. This is the most premium level, but we do have bedrooms or cabins for 2. We have cabins for 1. So if any of you are traveling as a single or solo traveler, we got you covered. So again, depending on what you are looking at, but remember, the best highlight is not only do you have your own private accommodations when you upgrade to a private sleeper, but you have all your meals included from the city you depart from until the city you arrive in. And Jasper is one of those fun cities. Now, when you do arrive in Jasper, we do include a sightseeing tour of Jasper National Park and Lake Maline, or Maline Lake, right? You also have a chance to travel to Banff. Now, if you're curious also when to travel to the Canadian Rockies, the most popular times are typically from May through September into October. As you can see with this picture, this is taken more towards the winter season, more like in October or so. But typically May to September into October are the most popular times. If you are traveling with your children or grandchildren, of course, the summertime is prime time. But if you want to travel with what we refer to in the travel industry as shoulder season, where it's a little less crowded, a little less expensive, then consider the months of either May, June, or September, October. All right. And before you know it, this package ends in the great city of Vancouver, where again, we do include a multi-day hop-on, hop-off tour. As you can see, looking at the map in the top left-hand corner, 13 days, 12 nights. And this truly is a trans-Canadian, a cross-country journey from Eastern Canada all the way out to Western Canada. And if you look also from Toronto out to Jasper, and you look right there in that little blue box, spend 3 nights on board Via Rail, all right? So you will have 3 consecutive nights as you travel from Toronto out to Jasper. So this is the perfect time to make sure you are booked into a sleeper, whatever category you choose, where you'll have all your meals included. You can dine in the dining area. You can have meals delivered to your room. You can go and relax in the beautiful observation car and just enjoy every moment of it as you travel from one great city to another. And one of the last packages I want to highlight is really a package that not only takes you throughout Eastern into Western Canada, but really is for those of you that want that experience of truly having multiple consecutive nights on board Via Rail. And I should mention too, when we talk about meals being included once you upgrade to any private sleeper, what I love about Via Rail, and Rocky Mountaineer is the same, the meals you have included reflect the different regions that you're traveling through. As an example, when you're traveling through central Canada, the prairies, you're going to have choices such as lamb and more beef options. When you're out towards Vancouver, it's going to be more of a seafood or Asian flair as far as some of the different cuisine. And Vancouver is just such a fun city. Lots to see and do here. For me personally, one of the most beautiful cities that I've ever been to anywhere in Canada. And just like in the Canadian Rockies, lots of hotel options also in Vancouver, also in Toronto, anywhere that Railbookers travels to. So keep this package in mind. Just a great tour, 8 days, 7 nights. As you can see, lots of hop on, hop off tours included with multiple consecutive nights on board the train. Now, here's the best part. We have digital brochures that not only highlight Canada and cross-Canada vacations, but Europe, trips around the world, cruise extensions for any of you that may be going to Europe and want to spend time before or after, maybe going on an Alaska cruise and you may want to spend time in the beautiful Canadian Rockies. We got you covered. So the question to really ask all of you right here, right now, what destinations are you considering for your next vacation? Well, here's the best part of today's presentation. Railbookers has you covered, not only in Canada, but around the world. Now, I encourage all of you to click on this icon to take a survey. That icon you see in the top left-hand corner of the large picture, it's down below that same icon. Take that survey today so we can better help support and answer any questions that you may have. The best and easiest way to plan your trip of a lifetime is to pick up that phone, give us a call, or even better, contact your local travel advisor. You will not spend 1 penny extra, and they can book any of these trips that I highlighted, or certainly any others throughout Canada or around the world. And you know what they can also book for you too, folks? Your flights. They can book a one-way flight or round-trip flight for you, and they can customize and personalize any trip. So I always recommend anytime, every time, you can book through your local travel advisor on a Railbookers package. Please consider that. On behalf of Railbookers, thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed today's presentation, and we look forward to having you, your friends, and family on board soon. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.